everybody was like, it was overpriced, didn't sell. The other one beside him was under market value, and it sold the day it went up on the market. And he said to the guy, he's like, why did you sell your house so cheap? He's like, the guy's like 60. He's like, what am I going to do, take the money with me? And I'm like, well, okay, well, if you have the ability to walk away from $40,000 or something, you can sell your house. I don't have that option. You know?
Cowan listed, this is just the markets, and maybe Halifax is similar to this. Jeff listed his house and he goes, I got $1,000 under asking. I go, good for you, dude. I go, that's fucking great. I go, so he goes, yeah, we listed at $260,000. I go to him, 260? I go, how long have you been in that house? He goes, 14 years. We bought it for $150,000.
Jesus Christ. No, so not only has he got the 110 that's profit, but he's probably paid that 150 down to 90 or 80. Like
their new house that they bought, that they're moving into, is $225,000. It's less than what he says they have 2 years left on their mortgage.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, exactly, because...
Holy fuck. I go to Cowan, I go, I bought my first condo 6 years ago. It was 600 square feet, and it was $220,000.
Jesus.
You sold a house for $259,000. Like, I'm just like, holy fuck. I think my dad's overpriced. I think that's the problem that he's...
I mean, that was our probably problem. Is we were overpriced. We dropped our price, and like Renee and I were talking tonight, and we like Renee's really wants to go, and I'm like, you know, the problem is I think there's a lot of forces trying to keep us here. Like, you know what I mean? She's having success with her book and stuff on the East Coast, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because West Coast, no one may care about that story, or
there's not people who've known you for 10 years. You know what I mean? Who are like people from my office have backed that Indiegogo campaign. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
You gotta. I think you have to count the blessings you have, even though we would like to do something different at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, anyways, I don't think this is happening.
Oh shit! Well, there you go. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, I know you guys were excited for that.
I mean, my biggest problem is I've sold the motorcycle now, so I don't have that vehicle. You know what I mean? So it looks like Renee and the boys are going to Newfoundland now, for July to sell her book and to do a book tour, and I'll be here by myself. And I won't have a vehicle or anything, right? So like that's gonna. I'm trying. I want to try and
get another bike. Yeah.
Well. Try and take on a job or something. You know what I mean, on the side or something, so I can pull off a couple grand to buy a motorcycle the next month, right?
Yeah. All right. Is Christian there? Or no.
He was. I gotta show you my new Spawn figure. Fuck. Because, see, I got Chitara, right? She's over here. She's joined those guys now. But did I show you the Spawn? Like, this guy.
That's a fucking figure, or at least the cape is.
And, like, look at his, this is like all material, right? But so the other thing that's awesome, I don't know if it'll show up. Oh, no. Oh, there, look. His eyes glow green when you put his arm up. It's like a LED in there.
So, wait, is that like the newest version of the McFarlane toys, or is this an older one?
Yeah, it's not actually that new. It's kind of old.
Wow, that's quite the fucking action figure, right?
Like, fucking awesome, man. I got this guy from a guy in Winnipeg sent it to me.
God,
like, it was already loose, but fuck, like, that's awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Man, that's the Chitara that literally some guy went to Toys R Us and bought for me and then mailed it to me.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, and like it was $16.99 on sale. Like, these things are $40 a piece. Toys R Us is marking them down for $16.99, but he went and got it. It cost $30 for shipping. I'm like, I will pay $45 to buy that fucking figure. Like, it's 15 feet tall. Like, it's even taller than the wings of Spawn, right? Like, that's awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
I got to cut back on the action figure buying, though, but...
Well, not anymore. You're not moving. Spend money.
No, I need a motorcycle. I got to stop. All my income has been going, like, you know what I mean? I can't... There's so many good figures now. It's like the market's awesome.
All right. We got anybody watching?
Someone probably Evan. Yeah, no, I can say this. So how cool is this? So like, you know, like we've got zero on. We've gotten up until tonight. We've had no one just donate like $5, just like throw away. You know what I mean? And I was like, maybe that is a way to get to her goal in the last few hours. and Evan donated $5, right? Which is basically just you're signing up for an email subscription, so it's basically just donating $5. You know what I mean? You don't get anything in return, which is pretty awesome.
Well, that's
Cheers
good.
to Evan. Yeah.
So, you guys, what are you at? Like 85% right now?
85. Yeah, I don't think she's going to get past that. But I mean, I told her, I was saying to Christian, there's certain hard costs, and this is interesting. So Indiegogo, they charge you 9% if you don't make your goal, and the assumption is you're not making your goal. That's the pricing structure. If you make your goal, they refund you 5%, and so you only charge 4%.
Oh, so more often than not, these things don't make their goals. But it's got the difference with Kickstarter is Kickstarter, it's all or nothing. You're still going to get that money regardless of meeting your goal with Indiegogo.
Right. And I mean, we put PayPal on, so PayPal has some charge, like they take a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I told Renee to put some cushion in. So even though we're not going to hit the goal, I think she's going to be fine. But it's been a totally huge learning curve, like just to learn how to do it. You know what I mean? And it's been pretty interesting. But yeah, it's cool.
Christian, you seem very busy over there.
I was looking for something to make a joke, but I can't find it, so the joke's gone.
Okay. So, what are we gonna do? Geek news?
We had like 3 friggin' suggestions there. Do I like mine the best? I think so.
What was yours again?
I'm gonna have to piss, I think.
The rumor about Robert Pattinson being the next Indiana Jones.
I can't fucking. Anyways, yeah, we should talk about that.
Where did you read that again? I remember. I don't think I read that.
I sent an email. What doesn't anybody listen to what I say?
Goddamn working, goddamn it.
Working on checking email.
Oh my God! Look. So we could. Okay. So what was that? Slash Film?
No, it's Geek Tyrant.
Geek Tyrant.
Geek Tyrant. I'm going there right now. It is on.
That story doesn't sound very legit. I haven't seen that anywhere else.
I don't think it is legit, but still, there's conversation or comments we could make. There's a lot more geek news being made right now. There's My Little Pony Transformers body paint cosplay. We could talk about that.
There's also the Doctor Strange director and cast.
Do I care about that? I'm getting more on the downs train when it's like, fuck, just give me a fucking trailer and we can fucking talk.
There's just so much fucking bullshit fake news nowadays. I don't know, but anyways.
Okay, but this is.
How about they've announced the 2 directors for the Star Trek standalone movies?
Star Trek?
Star Wars. Yeah. No, but what was that Robert Pattinson one was something worth making fun of.
It's a vicious rumor from the Daily Star, blah, blah, blah. There's an inside...
Actually, it's Sad Hydra is the one who's watching us, William Tremblay, who also did a bunch of Twitter love for my wife's campaign.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay, I know that there's going to be a huge backlash.
Well, Christian, I'm going to throw you to that. If it goes quick, we'll do the Star Wars directors sort of thing.
Yeah, okay.
I'll mention this during Geek News, but I thought you weren't calling it Geek News last week, and then you listened to it and you put the bumper in, but...
Well, let's see what happens with that.
Yeah, I put it in to put it in, but I mean, I was going to cut it. I thought I was going to get something fancy, but I was fucking late, and I was fucking going to...
It's hard, anyways.
Okay.
Let's fucking do this thing.
All right.
Oh, remind me to take pictures of all my pints, man. I can't drop my hashtag.
Okay, so let me just see. I mean, I need? What's my?
Can't see my vaporizer, can you? No.
No. What's my atomic pick? Gotta think of my atomic pick here for a second.
Yeah, I don't. Anyway, that's.
You have like an hour to think that up, eh?
Yeah, but I'm hosting. I'm in control here. Let me just remember. I had one. I can't remember what it is now.
I don't know what mine was either. I did something. I was doing some stuff.
I have one relevant to my topic, actually.
Fuck was mine? Anywho, I guess I'll think of something as we go. I can't think of something right now. Okay, so the order was, so Christian, you'll do that sort of geek news, and
put his arm up and see if you can see his eyes glowing in the dark from back there.
And the order will be Christian and then Downs.
Probably can't see that. You can't see that.
Oh, okay, hold on a second. What episode is 258?
Yes.
258. You are correct, sir.
And sorry, Downs, then me.
No, you.
Can you see his eyes glowing back there? Anybody? Can you tell me when I said no?
No.
When I turn it tilted that way, can you see it more now?
No.
Too far away, right?
Too far away. Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be, the order is Christian and then Downs.
Oh, I've written it down wrong, Christ's sakes.
And I'm next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
we're going to do a unplanned, we're not planning anything.
So we're doing what Nerd Lunch did 2 weeks ago.
Was that the same thing?
Well, I sent that email. They legitimately did that like 2 weeks ago.
I didn't even realize that was what that was doing because I listened to the episode. What's up with this episode? I didn't realize
it was called After the Show, and they played it like they did their end of their show. The music played at the start.
Yeah.
Like they were ending, and then they just start talking. It's like so it's like they had no topic. They just tangent. We can do it, but like they legitimately did that like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well then maybe we shouldn't, I guess.
Well, we can. What?
Or we do that topic that we talked about on my episode, which was the
obscure characters' backstories.
Yeah.
Could do that.
Could do that. Okay.
But you could also. I mean, we don't.
If we're going to do that, though, I'm going to pick characters and give them to you for you guys to create backstories for. Okay?
Okay, that's a better idea. Yeah.
Fine with me. I'm always I always love it when I'm given an assignment.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'll think up weird characters we have to think up backstories for. Okay, we'll do that.
All right.
And we'll save the other one for a little bit later.
Yeah, give it a couple of weeks.
Done it. Yeah.
One for we should do one you assign us and one we can do on our own maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
All right.
Oh, actually. Oh no, that was an action figure. I have an action figure idea too, but that's different. So we've never created Atomic Geeks action figures, right?
No.
Well, do that. That's a good one too. Fuck.
That's a really good one.
Write all that shit down, man.
These are all good topics.
No, actually, I'm going to do that one because I have some thoughts on that.
Okay, well then I'll do the cartoon character one then.
The action figure one, we've logically never done that. That's a really good one. Okay. Who was that?
Wasn't me.
My phone, sorry.
Okay, sorry. All right. So order Christian Downs, and away we go.
Good question from Sad Hydra. What happened to listeners suggesting topics and getting shirts?
Bloom left the podcast. We got no more shirts, dude.
We got no more shirts.
And a whole lot more better ideas.
You can still suggest ideas. Oh, that's not very nice.
Come on, busting balls.
No.
It's my stock and trade.
Now we're going to give away shorts. But all right, let's do it.
Not so shorts, just like Ellen.
Yes. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Atomic Geeks podcast. This is episode 258. My name is Michael DiGiovanni. I am sitting in the captain's chair for tonight's episode. And once again, I am podcasting under the influence because I'm drinking one of Innis and Gunn's lagers. Let's see what other sea creatures are with me.
Oh, hello, Internet. It's your pal, Christian. I'm the town of Oakville in my basement under the sea. And as I butcher a horrible Caribbean accent, I'm drinking something different. It's Rickard's Blonde. Rickard's Blonde. The can is flashing gold, and that's probably why it attracted my attention, and I bought 6 of them. So, there you go!
You did butcher that accent. You sounded Russian when you first started that, is all I have to say.
A Russian lobster. Russian's more like, I'm under the sea. Ariel, come back to communist.
Yeah, and go rewind, and that's exactly what you sounded like.
It's pretty racist. That's all we're going to say.
Anyways, I was going to say blub, 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 blub. I'm underwater, and I'm talking. I'm Mike Downs. I'm at Boxwood Brewing, which is my basement bar. And I'm drinking, actually I've just switched to some cider, some apple cider, which I love to make because it's so sweet and it's got some high alcohol content.
That's always what you need for podcasting. High alcohol content leads to high amounts of fun.
And high jinx.
High jinx.
Whoa!
Yes. Oh!
Jinx on you. Can't say anything till someone says your name.
High jinx. That was much better than what I came up with. But yeah, like we like you gunned up for the podcast, Downs. Actually, we like Christian and myself gunned up for it. We actually like our listeners to be wasted as well. If you can't, it's actually ideal that you're drunk enough that you don't really remember the episode by the time you get to the end of it, folks. So that's kind of our MO.
Gunned up? Is that a term? I'm not familiar with gunned up. I don't recall ever saying gunned up.
I kind of like it, though. I imagine as a T-shirt, though, like, let's get gunned up. You know what I mean? It's like a guy, looks like guns, but it's 2 pints.
Christian, you need to really get out of your house more. There's a lot of the vernacular has changed since 1997.
We've known each other for like what 20 years or whatever, and I don't gunned up being a thing, for crying out loud.
Because Christian, I do spend time with other people and those you know what I'm saying? Like
some of those people are not over 40 and they actually are
so this is a new term that's being used by the young people?
Do you realize the ability to, I'm going to use air quotes, express getting drunk? You can use about any word. Like you could say, it's better to be ham sandwiched when you listen to this podcast. There's a lot of, you pick a word. It can work for being drunk.
I gotta do that. I'm getting ready to get strawberry tonight, for crying out loud.
Or I'm totally edged right now. See, DJ's right. It works.
Yes, strawberry works. It's not great, but it still technically works in the sense. But getting all gunned up, I mean, that's I don't know if I've ever used it before, but it felt right. So there you go.
I gotta write that one down on my arm so I can use that next time I speak with the young people. Hello, fellas. Are you getting gunned up this evening?
No, I think if you're talking to anyone between 18 to 24, you say shit canned. I think they say shit canned.
Well, there you go. I've learned something new today. Anyway, let's get to Atomic Picks.
Yeah, let's go right into it. Mike Downs. I guess it might be that awkward time when we're supposed to transition to one of our usual segments. But now, after last week, I feel a little conflicted because Christian has thrown a wrench in our show format yet again, folks, because he kind of threw out that he was anti-geek news again, and Downs kind of picked up what he was throwing down. So now I feel kind of gun shy, to keep this gun thing going, to do the geek news, because you guys were kind of like, we're always late talking about it. All we're doing is making geek comments. What do we do here?
It's not news. By the time our podcast hits the internet, it's a geek discussion.
Yeah, I didn't mean to throw in some gun implications with the friggin' segment, for crying out loud. I mean, don't get gunned out about it, for crying out loud.
Christian, what terms for getting drunk did they use in 1977? Use that one.
Horse whipped.
See? That works. That could be a good one.
I'm getting my keister horse whipped tonight.
Dude, that's a good one. I'm going to use that. Fucking hashtag that.
All right, writing that down. Horse whipped, and that little X and O figure that goes before the word horse whip. That's important, right, on the internet?
Can you believe how horse whipped Christian was on episode 258? That's a thing. No, so what were you saying there before you said the horse whipped thing? You were trying to say something.
I think just trying to come to terms with the actual relevancy of the segment and how it implicates with our listeners. And if I like to think that friggin' Joe friggin' Underpants is sitting there in his car going, and now we're talking about this latest Star Wars stupid news. He's going like, man, I heard about this last week. But then the other side of the coin is I'm just hoping that maybe Joe Underpants driving his, friggin' Celica on his way to work in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
All I gotta say is, I want the poster that is the caricature of Joe Underpants, because you know a lot of details about Mr. Underpants.
I'm trying to paint a picture here. I'm trying to paint a picture of Joe Underpants. And
let me just take this moment to thank Joe Underpants for listening for all these years as well.
So maybe
all the iTunes reviews that the guy's done. I mean, come on.
No, come on, Joe Underpants. But maybe I like to think that maybe he doesn't care so much about the actual news item as that our insightful perspective on that gunned out piece of news.
Okay, so you waited 258 episodes to bring up this relevancy of our geek news?
It's been brewing inside of me for a while.
for a while. Finally took him 5 years to get the confidence up to mention this during the show recording.
It's a simmering kettle filled with friggin' concerns it's slowly coming to a boil for me here in Oakville.
Okay, well,
you are a black hole of emotion, mister. That's all I have to say.
So how about would anyone like to comment on some potentially slightly out of date geek headlines?
Or like recent geek happenings, we can call it. That just rolls off the tongue, right? Like
Recent geek happenings.
Hey,
and what we think of them.
Hey, ironically enough, is this ironic? I don't fucking. Right? Do I really
Not
care?
ironic. If you're saying it's ironic, it's probably not fucking ironic.
Well, in Oakville, it's ironic for crying out loud. I happen to have geek commentary, geek news. Actually, technically, this is going to be geek rumors for crying out loud. And according to some British fish and chips paper, they've been saying over the internet that apparently the Disney company, you know that Disney, they make all those animated movies about fairy tales and friggin' fish. They have said possibly that they're thinking about long-term options for that famous movie character Indiana Jones, and they're thinking about possible replacements. And one of the suggestions they said for a possible replacement for Indiana Jones is Robert Pattinson. And I wonder what you guys comments were on this gunned out rumor.
Well, of all of the geek rumor segments that we've done, this is arguably the worst.
Is it the first or the worst? Oh, it's the first.
Both.
It's both, actually. It is. This is a terrible fucking rumor. I mean, we've heard that Disney, because they bought Lucasfilms, everyone got excited about the Star Wars news but hey, Indiana Jones comes along with it. Well, they're going to do these things apparently without Harrison Ford because he's 108, but Robert Pattinson, I mean, that is just awful casting. I mean, that's an awful, awful idea.
But so I saw it the other day. I was reading one of those stupid fucking I was gonna say jailbait, link bait things where it's like things you didn't know about people who hated the roles they were in or whatever. And apparently that guy hates Twitter or hates Twilight. Hey, like seriously, is like, leave me the fuck alone, you crazy bitches. I don't want you to talk to me, you Twilight fans. So he's probably trying to distances himself and get something else that is something successful. So I wouldn't. The fact that I don't want this to happen, and when I saw that we were going to talk about this, I was like, please God, no. I can see why maybe he would be trying to be going, yeah, let me please, for the love of God, do something different and actually cool.
I don't know. I look at that friggin' baggy-eyed, friggin' sad-faced, friggin' British head, and I think to myself, he doesn't look like he's all about the action to me, for crying out loud. He looks more like the guy who fucking sits on his couch and wonders why he can't write poems for that fucking day, for crying out loud.
You hate the British, by the way, eh?
That's
like three derogatory comments about the Brits. And
as a person of British descent, it's like, the fish and chips and this and that, and I chuckled. I'm like, you're insulting my heritage, you motherfucker. I'm not out here calling Vikings out for like taking over people and like raping their children and stuff.
And if I might add, you're insulting my heritage. I'm half British as well. So, dude, you got to be careful about what you're saying here with the fish and chips.
Are we gonna start like a podcast street fight here? Is that what we're gonna do, for crying out loud?
You should see I already took my shirt off and I got a butterfly knife out.
Listen, if your heritage wants to bring it to my heritage, for crying out loud, you pick a continent. We'll get there first, and we'll wait for you to come over fucking hundreds of years later, for crying out loud. All right?
God. Excellent slam on another slam to the British culture. Yeah. But you know what? I agree. I mean, we're comparing him to that Twilight film. Maybe he hated being in that role. Maybe there's more to him. I think he just seems like Stoneface McGee. Like I don't think he has the charisma. I didn't see it in Twilight at all. Sometimes you can see guys that are, or gals, that are in bad movies, but there's something special there. It's just kind of waiting to come out. I didn't see that with this kid. I mean, at this point, hearing Robert Pattinson, I'm like, I'd rather see Jonah Hill be fucking Indiana Jones than that guy. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm just fucking happy that no one's throwing out goddamn Ryan Gosling again for crying.
Or Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper is who they're top to do this. I'm sure of it.
I'm telling you right now, I would take Gosling in a fucking heartbeat over that clown, though.
Well, of course, who wouldn't for crying out loud? I mean, that guy has been thrown out for everything else for crying out, you know.
But he never. The problem with Gosling is the guy's the hottest name to throw out in casting circles. What does he do? Like, when is this guy gonna do something?
He only does artsy fartsy stuff, man. He's protecting that career.
Yeah, it's like I think Gosling needs to step up and finally take one of these goddamn roles, man. Like,
I don't know. Every time I hear that guy's name, I can't think of myself. It's like, hey, look, it's Ryan Baby Duck for crying, or Baby Goose, I guess it is for crying out loud. That's his, the last name. Hello, Ryan Baby Goose. That's my thoughts. I'm putting out there on the internet to listen to.
See, I always think of him as Ryan Young Hercules Gosling.
What was that other TV? That frickin' high school in a boat for crying out loud? Breaker High.
Breaker High, yeah.
I thought you were going to say, what's the SS Tipton, Zach and Cody? So like, here's what Disney does, right? Like, these guys, Disney will go, you're a pair of twins, we're going to give you one show, and then when after 6 or 7 years, we're going to put you in a different TV show. Those two blonde twins, I think they signed a deal with Satan. They are still work with Disney, and they're like 50 now.
Who are we talking about now?
Zach and Cody, you know the two little blonde kids from, like, they had Zach and Cody's Rescue Rangers. They had Zach and Cody on a boat. You don't know any of this? Maybe
I thought that was Chip and Dale that were the Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, I don't know the exact names of all the titles of the shows.
I always like how these random Disney XD or Disney fucking TV show reference get pulled out by Downs. You always surprise me by pulling out your Hannah Montana and Zach and Cody and all that.
Because that is the shit that my kids watch, right? So it's like all these shows that are like the worst thing on television. That's the age they're into now. I don't even get to watch half-decent cartoons because they're busy watching Hannah Montana. What's the other one? Good Luck Charlie. Have you seen this one?
No.
It's like,
no.
and like, well, lucky for you. And like, so there's actually some funny jokes in it, but at the end of every episode, it's like, it's a video diary, and it's like, so good luck, Charlie. And they keep that shit on for, that thing must be in 7 episodes, so much so Charlie is a 5-year-old kid now, and there's another kid after that kid, right? So this show's been going on for like something like 10 years.
I wonder what it'd be like to have high school on a boat. That's what I was wondering. Prom on a boat, playing dodgeball on a boat.
It'd be. I mean, I think it would be pretty fun for sure. But your dating options get a little limited, right? You strike out a lot. I mean, you're left with the cooking staff. I mean, at that point.
That's right. Falling in love with the cruise.
Well, no, what
director.
you'd probably have is you'd probably have, if you're there on the high school, you're there for a certain amount of time. Wouldn't you have guests who come and go? So you'd probably be hitting on chicks.
So wait a minute.
Like, there for a week. You're there for 2 months. They're there for a week. Wouldn't you think?
Wait, your high school's happening, but then other tourists are joining the boat every now and again. So the boat's still picking up other guests. Like,
so wait a second.
You're there for like whatever finite amount of time, but cruise ships are picking up people.
But by that logic, Downs, that's like saying when you went to high school, people are coming in and sleeping at your high school like a fucking hotel. Then that's like
no, because I didn't go to high school and do in a moving luxury resort. But if you go to high school in a moving luxury resort, its business is to entertain and be a resort, not to high school kids. You know,
but not if it's school boat. Like
I want to meet the fucking travel agents who sold people fucking tickets for vacation on this fucking boat, for crying out loud. Hey, it's a week. You go around all of the islands, and it's filled with high school kids.
No, but it's not like a whole high school. There's only a class or two that are on the boat for like a finite amount of time. They're doing excursion on the boat for 2 months. It's not.
You don't know all the details.
4 years of high school with all different grades.
Oh,
Break
so
I
it's not-
do. I've watched the shows. I know the fucking formula to make it work.
So wait, so you're saying it's not, you don't assume there's a grade 9 through 13 all happening here, like there's a shop class happening on the boat.
That's kind of fucking awesome, but no, I didn't.
And
What are you making in shop on a boat, actually?
Well, probably
Oars,
life vests,
oars.
maybe.
Life jackets.
Jet skis? Are you working on jet skis? You know what I mean? Like,
But you know what? How would they, if there was a sport team, like if there was like a volleyball team, a football team, what other, do you play other boats? Like, do you pull
That's
up
what I
beside
mean.
another high school boat and play them? And like,
you can't sustain a whole high school experience. It has to be like a year abroad, and they take 20 students who experience high school on a luxury cruise for a year. Meanwhile, other people come and have their vacations on it. You know what I mean? And
From
like,
what I understand, the Lido deck can be easily converted into the standard high school football.
into a
field.
classroom. You're not playing
Just-
football
just-
on the fucking boat.
But you're not
teaching
allowed to kick-
science or home ec. You're not
You're
not having fucking a football stadium.
You're just not allowed to kick field goals because if we don't. All those footballs we lose are not in the budget for the boat, for crying out loud, right? So strictly handoffs and passes, no kicking. Okay, that's basically it.
I love
Yeah,
that.
the sports are totally affected by how the limitations of being on the boat.
Yeah, go Breaker High Gophers. That's the name of the team.
Pretty much.
Badminton is huge on the boat, actually, because it's totally something that can happen on the boat.
Well,
And for some reason, T-Pain and the Lonely Planet are the I'm on a boat is the soundtrack or something.
totally. Well, I certainly hope Robert Pattinson isn't Indiana Jones.
But let's hope he's in the movie version of Breaker High, Ships Ahoy.
Wow. Since we've started this geek comments fucking thing, we go on the weirdest tangents all of a sudden here. There was that, I guess. Maybe we should do one of them topics. Let's move into the proverbial meat and potatoes, as Christian likes to say, of episode 258. And this one, very simply, is Under the Sea. That's right, the Atomic Geeks are under the sea. We've done this a few times on the show where we like to try to guess what our lives would be like if we lived in certain places. We've done this where we've lived in outer space, or if we were sent back into the past, or if what environments of movies would we not want to live in? Well, today for this episode, we're going to figure out what the Atomic Geeks' lives would be like if we lived under the ocean. So I don't think it needs a lot more explanation than that. We're going to get right into it. So to get the beach ball rolling, I guess we could say.
Oh.
Okay.
Now that's not a very good use of a friggin' metaphor? Because the beach ball is primarily used on the beach, and when it does even enter the water, it only
floats.
resides on the surface. It does not go underneath unless it's been punctured.
Okay.
Let's put on our scuba gear and dive in.
Right.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Let's dive into the topic and then also kick a kelp ball under the ocean. Guys, as we're doing this, the first and biggest question is, how do we live under the sea? By that I mean, we are humans, or are we? And how do we breathe under this sucker? Like, are we a merman? Are we Aquaman? Do we have special powers? How are we doing this? So, Christian, let me go to you first. How do you live under the sea?
How do I live under the sea? That is a very good question. And I am a human being who essentially can only breathe air, but with the help of my diving suit, I can live at the bottom of the ocean.
So, interesting that you picked that. I picked that as well. I am not a Creature from the Black Lagoon looking guy here, right? I am not a fish version of myself. I'm wearing like a wetsuit, body armor sort of thing. I need I've got like an astronaut's helmet, breathing apparatus.
Oh, so you have you have the fish bowl on top of your head?
Yes, like that's how
I see myself as using those classic old school, like super old school diving uniforms, you know, with a gigantic brass friggin' helmet and the porthole with the friggin' thing that you can open and close, you know. But
diving suit, they were called, right?
Yeah,
yes.
Diving suit, but with a bit more of a modern feel. Like it's been retrofitted for the times.
Yeah, so it's got speakers, it's got a GPS, it's got it's iOS.
Yeah, that's right. It's got the friggin' Google Eye as well in there, so in the helmet.
So are you though? Like I love that old sort of Victorian-esque style of that suit. Are you connected to anything on the surface or no?
No. I mean, it's only purely for cosmetic reasons, because I think it looks super cool. Those old diving suits. But yeah, no, it's a very lightweight suit for doing all the things that I have to do when I live and work under the sea.
See, yeah, like mine is a little more sleeker and more modern. Like I've got like I said, imagine like the outfits from the movie Prometheus or something like that, where I've got like a one-piece bodysuit, wetsuit, which is almost like a body armor. I've got a little fish bowl over my head, and my feet. I don't want to say flippers, but I have something like.
They're webbed to a certain degree that indicate that I need a little bit of help when I'm swimming.
Yes, that's kind of what I'm wearing or rocking, as I like to say occasionally, just like the kids do. So
you got to make it a little bit more friggin' swimmy, right? Because I mean, to me, it kind of sounds like that you've got a spacesuit, but it's at the bottom of the ocean. You know what I mean? Like I guess the webby toes, but I mean, I don't know. It sounds like you need something else to make emphatically clear, like, hey, I'm fucking underwater, you know, I'm not on the moon.
Well, no, I mean, like that. I don't think that's totally true. I mean, if you look at, I think it still works. It is like a wetsuit in the sense that a scuba diver would have, but I just didn't want goggles and an oxygen mask.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I've got like a wetsuit sort of thing, but it's almost more. It's a thicker property where I'm like. To be, because I want to be able to be where I'm at the bottom of the ocean. I'm not going to go into all the scientificness of this, but I'm wearing something that's kind of like an advanced scuba outfit, but with like an astronaut helmet. But Downs, how are you? Are you like Christian and I here, where you are a human, or have you evolved, or are you like Aquaman? What's happening here?
Yeah, no, great question, because I'm not like you guys at all.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no. When I heard this, immediately something came to mind that I'm hoping is a bit of geek cred. I don't know, and I'm hoping maybe you guys have heard of this book.
Wait,
I definitely haven't heard that book.
You guys might remember.
Oh, wait, Downs, you cut out.
Oh,
so I don't think this might be some geek cred. I don't think you might have heard this book. I'm gonna kill your parents. What? No, basically you stop. Like I don't think you've heard of this book, and that's where you stop.
And I'm hoping that you guys have maybe heard about this book. It was introduced to me back when we were in college by a friend of ours named Thomas. If you guys remember Thomas from film class, tall red-haired dude.
Yeah, we're all black, walked around gothy, gangly like blah.
Yeah. So you know, different, crazy kind of dude. And this is a book by an author called Douglas Adams. He's Scottish. Yeah. And the book is called Man After Man. Do either of you guys know about this book?
I know Douglas Adams. I'm not familiar with that book.
I know Douglas Adams too, but that doesn't ring a bell.
So he is just kind of science fiction-y, and so this is about. It's a book that's it's about where would humans evolve to. And it literally the first one is like what happens in 200 years, what happens in 500 years, what happens in 1,000 years, what happens in 10,000 years, what happens in 100,000 years, and it's very creepy. It reads like a textbook, so it seems like it's true. Let me just make sure I got the guy's right information. Douglas Adams.
Does it read like that friggin' zombie book by?
Wait, I think I got his name wrong.
Max Brooks's book.
No, Dougal Dixon. I've got his name wrong.
Oh, okay.
Never heard of that fucker.
Never heard of this fucking. Yeah, not Douglas Adams. I'm sorry. I meant to look this up, and I had that tab open, but it's hard to. So Dougal Dixon, some Scottish guy, and so it's about, but it's about like the evolution, and so it talks about how like there's basically a catastrophe that humans have to prepare for, and kind of they genetically modify, people with, and so one of the first scales of evolution, and where the immediate thing I thought about and creeped me out and stuck with me forever, and I thought of when you said this was, there's so much water on the planet, we got to find a way for humans to live in the water, right? And so, I pictured this with a combination of kind of water worlds, of Kevin Costner's character, not so much, I guess Aquaman, but I wasn't thinking of Aquaman specifically, but it was more of like humans who live and breathe underwater through, whether it's genetic modification or whatever, but we have some fins and we're living and we're hanging out almost solely underwater, and I'll get into whether can we come up for air, or like, are we allowed to be up above it or not later when I talk about that? But to me, it was very much an evolved, kind of scary version of man. Like when you look at these pictures, they were these black things that looked like weird floaty things in the water, and I never forgot that. And when you talked about this topic, that was the first thing I thought.
So wait a second. Are you the creature from the Black Lagoon, or are you the man from Atlantis, or you are somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between. It's not. It's probably, yeah, somewhere in between.
So you're like, to further that, you are like, you quoted Kevin Costner's character and Aquaman. You still look humanoid, like you look like a human, but you've got minor adjustments to you that allow you to breathe underwater. You don't look like a lizard, turtle fucking thing.
Wait a second. Do you wear pants?
No, we don't wear clothes, and we're evolving away from that look of human. I mean, it's definitely not as Aquaman and Kevin Costner as maybe I've made it perceive. It's more humanoid, like a Sasquatch underwater or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, you know what? Actually, Downs, have you seen Hellboy movie? Are you kind of like Abe Sapien a little bit?
Probably a little more thicker and less reptilian, you know what I mean? But getting there, you know what I mean? Like getting to that
Abe
point.
Sapien wears pants, does he?
He wears more of like a black
short
underwear or something.
Yeah, he wears short pants, but that's.
I'm just concerned about seeing genitalia. Is your genitalia like inside of you, or is it out for everyone to see?
First of all, he only wears those shorts when he's outside of the water. When he's in his natural element, he doesn't wear the pants. To be clear. No, my genitalia aren't. I don't have my junk hanging out. It's not like that.
So you're wearing like bike shorts, is what we're saying.
No, but it's kind of like maybe there's a flap. But like ladies' boobs are kind of there, but they're, you know what I mean. But
what?
You don't necessarily see their twats totally.
How sad is that is, for crying out loud, for the bike shorts industry, for crying out loud, that society has evolved to a point now we don't need bike shorts anymore, yet there's this whole underwater society clamoring for bike shorts to hide their genitalia.
One day there's a guy holding on a fucking boatload of fucking bike shorts just waiting for the day.
Yeah, there's this guy going, I know bike shorts is the future, and how right he was, and now he's dead.
But don't get ahead of yourself. There might be water bikes, right? So that could come out.
That's right. Underwater spin classes in this new society.
You're right. Jesus Christ. That's for sure. Like, it's called underwater currenting, is what they call that. Actually, in fact.
That's right.
So interesting. So we've kind of hit a couple of the areas that I was hoping for, is that we weren't all scuba divers, and more of this will probably get fleshed out as we continue to understand what is happening under here. So let's go on to the next question. We understand how we can physically be under there. Where do we live underwater? So where are you? Are you in a cave? Are you sleeping in a big seashell? Are you, like, Christian, where do you reside under the ocean?
I reside at the bottom of the ocean in a gigantic mansion-sized clamshell, which essentially has your typical, West Coast California mansion with the stairways with no handrails. That dangerous shit, you know. But it's at the bottom
Why
of
do
the
you
ocean.
need stairwells? You can swim up there. Like,
Well, not stairwells, but you know, like it's like the mansion is inside the clamshell, and it's
No.
like I wanted to make sure that the decor and the atmosphere is clear. You know what I mean? It's like very kind of modern and elegant, and they got those stairways. You know, it's like fucking like you.
Swimways. We call those swimways.
No, but it's not
No,
inside the.
I'm kidding.
Inside the mansion, it's not. There's no water. It's all free, easy breathing air for crying out loud. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like it's essentially like you know, kind of like my bat cave at the bottom of the ocean. Like that way, in my giant clamshell that is essentially is camouflage or clamouflage for my mansion is where I can take off my friggin' suit and lounge around in my underpants like any other person would be at the bottom of the sea.
Okay, now I get it. So
Yes.
you're not in your kitchen, for lack of better words, and you're still underwater. Like you enter this clam cave and you're not in the water. It's free of water.
Exactly. This clam mansion is essentially a self-contained above the water environment at the bottom of the sea.
Can I ask you, does your clam house have a clammock? Can you sit in a clammock over in that thing?
Yeah, in the simulated backyard of my clam mansion, yes, there is a hammock for resting and peering at the sea life that swims over my clam mansion.
Okay, so this is very interesting how this is already paralleling how if you go back to our episode about Christian in space, you mentioned this clam mansion. Is this you isolated away from other people? Like, where is this mansion? Like, you're just on your own?
No, it's me on my own. I'm at the bottom of the ocean with a very specific purpose for why I am there.
Okay, well, I will leave that mystery for a little later. For me, I'm actually in a I'm living in an underwater city. I'm going to kind of follow Downs' lead a little bit here. Is that humans have basically moved to the water? Like we have civilized and created areas for ourselves to live under there, just because it's such a huge. So much of our planet is water, as Downs mentioned. So there are actual cities and other civilizations. There's multiple cities. Atlantis, sure, Atlantis is there, but I just don't live in Atlantis. I live in Chicago.
I mean, of course you don't live in Atlantis. I mean, you don't live in Atlantis. The real estate prices in Atlantis are through the fucking roof. I mean,
no, that's like the Beverly Hills of the ocean. That
Jesus, so who could live in Atlantis on a fisherman's wages?
Chicago. I'm sorry, that name deserves commentary for crying out loud. I'm assuming that this environment or this existence that you live in, that a lot of the cities have some kind of nautical or water-based theme to the names, like New Seattle possibly is another one of the cities.
Seattle is another good one.
New San Antonio.
And like I'll tell you, every one of these cities has an Ocean Avenue, guaranteed. So the way I have to draw a comparison to this, but if you remember in Star Wars Episode 1, the Gungans, terrible Jar Jar Binks, that's awful, but where they lived, if you can reimagine that there was almost like these domes, and similar to what you said, Christian, when we are in the city, we're actually technically not under the water.
Okay, like you answered my next question, was like basically are all a bunch of dome heads walking around underwater for crying out loud?
So there's like a membrane or a wall or a door or something that my house is in sort of a glass greenhousey sort of thing, and that is how the rest of Chicago is like. We're like a series of dome buildings where we can all walk around freely, that we're not actually swimming. When we leave, we swim out into the ocean, sort of thing. So Downs, why don't you tell us about where you are at?
Sure. So this is where my question came up, and where, as always, I have to kind of question what the backstory is. To me, it came when I was thinking of this. the question that came to me was, are we at a point where it's a catastrophic human event that has caused us to go to the water, versus are we in an alternate fringe reality where we just live underwater? Because
are you talking about your existence?
Well, yeah, because my answers are different than based off of whatever those two scenarios we're going with.
Well, I assumed we're all in our own freaking little world, so to speak.
We are, and it's like, and I think that's open to interpretation, like many of our topics are. Mine, if you need an answer, is mine is a alternate reality where the Earth just happens to also have. There are still cities up on land, but there's also people and creatures and whatever living under the water.
I guess my thing is, everything's wrapped into, because it's a story in my head of whether we were forced into the water or whether we just happen to live in the water. So
which one do you want to tell us? Like,
some of them are clever, some of them are just they're statements. So I'll tell you, in this instance of where I live, the clever one would be like, okay, we were forced to go underwater because of some type of nuclear event. Okay, like space, we figured out. Guess what? There's nowhere to go in space. We have to find somewhere on our planet. So somehow it takes 50 years to make this happen. That's why we're genetically engineered. That's why we're not divers like you guys. This is something that we're at
50 years of hardcore evolving.
Well, no, but no, it's genetic modification causing evolution. And
okay.
That's a cool idea. So, like, you're forcibly evolving yourself to find a sanctuary in the water.
Yes, exactly.
That's a cool idea.
Well, so it's like what do they call that? It's a species level extinction event, right? So we're doing whatever the fuck we can. And again, this is the way that this book is written. It's not necessarily something I thought of. So the more clever scenario is suddenly we're living underwater and kind of adapting to our scenario. Another thing I thought about was this. I think I mentioned this TV show, The 100, I started watching recently, which is about these people who've lived in a spaceship for 100 years or whatever. Now suddenly are back on the planet and they don't know, they're here with nothing. So I was like, okay, so that's interesting. Suddenly, even though I can live and breathe underwater, how do I make a home for myself and survive? So I was like, it'd be totally neat if somehow we figured like you could hollow out whales or giant jellyfish and stuff. And so like you would kill some giant beast or something like that and hollow it out and then kind of bring it down to the bottom of the ocean. Like thinking about settling the ocean is where my mind was going with that.
So the creature fossilizes in a certain respect, and you can live in its remains, or is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly, Lane. Because these things are huge, and we're like just these fishing. Again, think SpongeBob SquarePants, right? Like I don't need to breathe, right? So like doors and stuff aren't as necessary, right? You just kind of swim in and do stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm not so worried about that. I just need a structure to put my belongings in or whatever. So that was the way I was thinking of that if I was a newly amphibian or aquatic creature and how I would survive. So,
I guess in this new evolved society, modesty is not an option anymore, because I mean, if you're there with your freaking evolved wife there doing stuff in your bedroom and one of your kids swims in doing stuff while you're doing stuff, I guess you just don't care. I have no idea.
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, you're pointing out things I haven't taken. Maybe there are doors. Like SpongeBob has doors.
There's no doors, but maybe for the sleeping quarters you should have like kelp curtains or something, just to make sure. Maybe. You know what I mean? Like, hey, the kelp curtains are down. Don't swim in there with mommy and daddy fish are doing their thing.
And it just becomes a written rule that kelp curtain means do not enter, right? Maybe.
Yeah, that's right.
No, you see, if you want to be like the seaweed dealer, if you're like the seaweed dealer, you gotta have like one of those like seashell fucking things that the way you can go into your room, like the like the guys always have the beads to go in. You gotta just have strings of fucking seashells and everything. Hey, that guy sells the best seaweed, man, for sure, guaranteed. Like here, as we were describing this, I have a question. Has there ever been a great underwater movie? Like, there's been a lot of movies that have been set on the water, right? Like Jaws and all that. But what, like, things that have taken place underwater, like, have we really nailed that yet in terms of movies or what?
I was wondering why we didn't have that conversation from the start, but I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I mean, the first movie that comes immediately to mind about movies that are good and are underwater, I guess The Abyss comes to.
Yeah, that's exact. I was like, The Abyss. The majority of that movie takes place underwater.
It's a good. Oh, that is a good one, actually.
Like, isn't the director's cut like 18 hours? Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no.
Isn't like the director's cut for that movie like 18 hours long now, for Christ's sakes, or something like that?
I actually have that DVD. If I didn't give when I sold a bunch of DVDs away, there's the whole spaceship coming up and stuff. It's a lot longer in that aspect about the alien kind of side of things. Spoiler alert! If you haven't watched the 30-year-old movie. I love that fucking movie. I gotta say, I love the.
Actually, that's a really good. That would, I'd have to argue, for live action is probably one of the best, because then when you start thinking of other ones, there's like Leviathan and Sphere and all these sort of weird.
Deep Space Nine, or not space, I guess.
Yeah,
or Sequest DSV.
Yeah, there's that Sequest. That's that TV show. It's terrible. Yeah, but like a lot of the other underwater movies turn into almost like.
We hate being underwater and things are leaking everywhere. Let's go out here.
It's almost like
if anybody was to make something, this is James Cameron's area, right?
Have you not heard the rumors for Avatar sequels? They're largely gonna take place under the Avatar planet's oceans. Like, it's going to be
probably the dude has got a huge heart-on for diving. Like,
he's obsessed with it. Like
obsessed. Like, he goes down to the Titanic and thinks and shoots that, and thinks that people want to go see that in a movie theater. No one gives a fuck about some sunken ship.
I think that will be probably the next stage of like when underwater like filming is going to get crazy, because like the thing is, outside of Abyss, that was a really good pull on that one. But like all the other ones were like almost the underworlds of that cheeseball action / horror, like Sphere and Leviathan and all that.
The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. I mean, that is not exactly an underwater movie, but there are underwater elements. I mean,
same with like Waterworld has a pretty nice scene where Kevin Costner's character swims pretty far to the ocean. It's a cool scene.
But that's one scene in the entire that movie is about people surviving on top of the water. To what you're saying.
So, but when you actually think about the successful beyond what we've quoted here, it's like, think about it. It's goddamn Finding Nemo. It's Little Mermaid. It's there's actually Disney made back in the day an Atlantis movie. Yeah.
Those are pretty good movies, actually. I've seen them. They're not bad. They're on the Netflix. If parents are looking to show kids shit they haven't seen, they actually are not bad. But I mean, as far as live action underwater movies, set in underwater. There's not really a heck of a lot, which makes me even wonder why would someone fucking make a podcast topic out of it, for Christ's sakes. Good Lord.
Because this is going to be the future, man. Now that the aquatic technology has caught up with us, you wait till you see all the goddamn underwater movies.
You're going to see some adventure swimming like you've never seen before in your entire life. Adventure swimming and danger swimming.
Yes. All right. So let's that's danger. Taking that dangerous swimming segue.
Danger swimming and adventure swimming are two different things, just to be clear. All right.
Okay. So that classifying of different swimming habits. What are we doing under the water? So like, what is your role? You're there. You got to be doing something. Are you a farmer? What are you doing? So, Christian, why don't you please explain to us what you're doing in your clam mansion?
Boy, oh boy, you're freaking just start with me after every little segment. You're just jumping at me, for crying out loud.
There's only three of us. Don't on the call.
Give me a chance to goddamn breathe, for crying out loud.
We're underwater. Use that.
That's right. Buy my martini bar in my clam mansion, for crying out loud. Just trying to take a break here. Fucking, here you go. Talk again.
Isn't that a Mantarini? Isn't that what you should be drinking?
That definitely. That's right. Tastes mantalicious. So my role in the bottom of the sea is that basically. It is my duty. I live in my existence in under the sea is essentially. I happen to live I'm not making sense here. Give me a second here. I live in an existence where basically all pop culture and literary and fictional references of sea animals exist simultaneously on the planet Earth with me under the sea. And as a concerned citizen of the planet Earth, I have great concerns about the normal fish that exist under the sea, and it is my duty to eradicate all anomalous friggin' sea creatures that exist in the entire world to make it safe for the rest of the sea creatures on the planet.
So you are the charge of taking care and protecting of the fictional underwater characters?
No. I want to get rid of all fictional friggin' fish characters and so on, and non-standard fish creatures, so that the traditional fish can live and exist as food fare for the rest of the planet.
Okay, so you are in essence a hunter of Ariel and the fucking all of the Little Mermaid fish and Nemo and everybody.
Exactly, SpongeBob SquarePants, that frickin' talking dolphin from the Sequest DSV, for Christ's sakes. I'm hunting them down and getting rid of them so that normal fish can live free and clear under the sea.
What? Oh, wow! So you are a cold-hearted killer, basically. Like you're a bounty hunter almost. In a
Essentially, sense. Although there's no bounty for me to earn except for the salvation of the planet, for crying out loud. I've been called maybe the underwater racist, but I think in the bigger spectrum of things, I'm making life under the sea easier for all of us to thrive.
Well, you're almost the underwater purist. Right?
Yes,
because you're trying to preserve the natural order versus these talking creatures.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Even talking creatures, or even basically larger, destructive fish that are kind of like, living outside the box, like your jaws and your orcas and things like that. They're freaking on my list and being taken down.
Well, you're totally a vigilante who's taken justice and the law into your own hands.
Sea justice.
Sea justice. Yeah.
I could be basically the ocean punisher, is what you might want to think.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Okay, so now I get that's pretty cool, actually.
Honestly, I think the real reason I want to do this is basically so I can freaking kill off all those goddamn snorks, for crying out loud.
Well, that's got to be at the top of your list. You've already accomplished that.
Number one, snorks, and then number two, Moby Dick.
Yep. Moby Dick, I mean, can you find him? I mean, he is the quest of a lot of lesser men.
If there's any way I'm going to build my goddamn reputation is by taking care of that goddamn Moby Dick, for crying out loud. But I thought I'd start small with snorks and then move on to a gigantic white whale.
Well, then you got the Loch Ness Monster. I mean, you got a lot of names to cross off your list.
But isn't the Loch Ness is like in a lake, though, isn't he? Like,
yeah, that's like
isn't it all just water?
Well, I mean, lakes and bays and tributaries and rivers. I may get to later on as I clear off the main points of contention as far as anomalous sea life is concerned.
Okay, so Downs, what are you doing under the water?
Again, there's different options. To me, this one was very specific about whether it was a alternate universe or a end of Earth situation. So, like, example, if it's just another alternate universe, I don't know that I'm doing much different. You know what I mean? Like, there probably are websites underwater somehow. So I'm just,
you totally took the words out of my mouth. Like, here my travel with my underwater pilot craft.
Like, if we're just underwater guys, I don't know that my life has turned out that different. It just means
it will. You're under the fucking water. No, things are vastly different.
But if we're in a different alternate universe and we've been underwater for hundreds of years, I'm probably just a marketing guy in the world of underwater world.
I would assume microphone and Skype technology has been radically changed.
Something. No, it'll be seaweeds we're talking to, and they'll be like,
No. If you're talking into a clamshell. Come on, that's just frickin', easy. That's how it works.
It's just like the Flintstones again. So like if I was to go back in time in the Flintstones, I would be doing rock websites or something. You know, like that's you know what I mean. If it's a genre flop, I don't think that much changes. Versus if I'm 25, and by the time I'm 50, we're living underwater, and I'm tapped by the scientists to go underwater as part of some experiments and the future of the human race, which is scenario B. So in that scenario,
but wait, before you get into that one,
before I give up the ocean websites, yes.
Because what really closed that for me was the comparison to the Flintstones, because initially I was like, what the fuck, you're right, these people, the assumption with the Flintstones is almost given me a new insight into that show, is that it's like we are trapped in the Stone Age forever. Like we've evolved, but the time hasn't evolved. Like we've thought, let's make some cars, but we don't have the material, so we're still using fucking boulders and shit. Like, so which actually really gives the Flintstones a whole new meaning in a weird way. But so your idea is we've been under the ocean all the time, that we'd probably find a way to get to where we are now as humans, but we'd be doing it in a rudimentary sea manner, like, you know what I'm saying? Like
that's one scenario. I was like, if I'm a person who was born underwater, my parents were born underwater, for generations and generations we've been born underwater, I guess more out of the Aquaman thing. Yeah, I just assume that we're living underwater and shit and I'm just a web guy, underwater web guy.
I didn't really expect to come to this podcast to get my mind blown, for crying out loud. So maybe we can move on and talk about something else.
So it's like kelp sites. They're kelp sites.
Kelp sites, exactly. And seaweed is the new spam, maybe. I don't know.
It's the world. No, the sea-wide.
The SWW, the Sea Wide Web.
Yeah. And like twittering is like you whisper like the salmon on their freaking spawning run, for crying out loud. Like, tell everybody my freaking kelp site is fucking awesome. Go.
So that was, again, like that's scenario A. So scenario B is the other end of world scenario where we have to get off land and get into the water. And so in that scenario, again, thinking of more of the idea of the 100, this TV show, where it's like only certain people survive. I think in that scenario, at my age now, when I'm 40, 50, or in this story I'm fabricating, I think I'm pretty confident in that I would be better off than I am now. I think if the world was to end tomorrow, if I was to survive, granted, that may not happen, right? Like some bully might come up and just kill me, like.
If the world end tomorrow, I certainly hope that won't happen.
No, but like if our society goes to shit tomorrow and we're left to fend for ourselves, or you know what I mean? Like we're in a situation where we don't obey by society's rules. We're at a new horizon, a new whatever. Assuming I have someone who can stick up for me and stick up for my loudmouth, I could potentially be in a new Senate, or you know what I mean, like the new government. Like I can motivate people, you know what I mean? Like in my job, I deal with team members, like I deal with 4 and 5 people, I give speeches, you know what I mean? I convince customers to do things. I'm like, if there's only 200 people left, a lot of those 200 people are probably going to be fucking idiots. So I'm thinking if this is a scenario where we're evolving into the ocean, I might be like an ocean senator or something, you know what I mean? Like I have more designs if I go that way.
If there's 200 people left on the planet, the last thing I'm hoping for you is like basically be a marketer, for crying out loud, or selling, or whatever the fuck you're doing for.
Exactly. I want to be in control and making some decisions.
But if there's only 200 people, what do you need a Senate for? Like, I mean, you've got
maybe there's 2,000. It's just not millions like we're at now. Maybe there's 100,000.
So you're in politics. You're in Aqualopix. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Wait, is Aqualopix? What the fuck was that? That's the is that the merging of undersea life and the governing of their society, so to speak?
Yeah, because suddenly you've got say you've got a million people who've gone through this evolutionary process, right? And we're humanity's last hope to survive underwater, right? You have to feed, you have to employ, you have to take care of these people. In a scenario where you're suddenly moving to a new environment, there needs to be some sort of government structure. And I'm like, you know what? In that scenario, there's going to be a lot of stupid people, right? Like if you look at just by numbers and you look at around you, I think, there's a lot of followers out there, right? Like if you meet people in your life, there's some people, I think we tend to be pretty clued in on this podcast, but there are people who are sheep who follow blindly, totally. And I think if in that scenario, because of the age I'm at and because I'm confident of myself, I would not sit back and let things happen. Again, I might get killed if I don't have someone to back me up. There's a very good likelihood I could die in the first 2 days. But if I make it past that, I think I could be some sort of senator or something.
Well, if I'm one of these last 2,000 people, let me just put this in there right now that I think I have strong possibilities and reasons to excel in kelp farm management. I make a lot of ideas. We can discuss them later, but just keep me in mind when you develop your kelp farms, because
all I'm saying is, when do we want kelp? When do we want it now? See, I can motivate the workers.
I was gonna say, I'm starting to see like Downs' campaign fucking banners up there. Vote Downs for sea change. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Vote for Downs. He's kelp-tastic. I think the great thing about this episode is we got so many new words that we're creating right now, and I'm very, very excited about seeing them years from now in Webster's Dictionary as they pour over the archives of their podcast and how they've made such a societal change on Earth.
What happened to the human being race? Oh, here's the archival footage and records. Let's listen to this.
I should also note, for the alternate reality, another name is you'd be working on wet sites. Those would be wet sites.
Wet sites.
Wet sites. So I'm going to go very quickly here with what I'm doing because I don't have nearly the story that you guys do.
And you don't even. I only had one option. Downs is like 3 options for crying out loud. I was waiting for option C where he's like this undersea friggin' circus clown.
It's not like that. It's just that it was very much. How is this the life I have or is that the life I have? And the job, whatever I do, has to do with the life we live in.
But Jesus, you're like the fucking Gandhi of the underwater fucking ocean here, man.
Not yet, but I fucking will be. That's for
the Morpheus of the underwater people.
I will be.
Looks like we got a new shirt. Let me quickly go through mine because I'm pretty much just under the water. I'm an explorer. Boring.
I'm an underwater fish car salesman.
No, I'm pretty much a man of underwater leisure. Like that's pretty much. You know, I feel like I've done pretty well with myself. I've been able to secure a lot of clams in my life. Found me some, been able to get me some pearls, if you know what I'm saying.
So you're this guy in your underwater spacesuit, fucking slowly swimming further and further out in areas where people don't friggin' have never been, and saying, "Hey guys, radioing back. Guys, there's some shells over here. Just let you know. Okay, I'm gonna continue to explore. Hold on. Hey guys, there's some fish, big fish. They're kind of blue with yellow stripes. Write that down. I'm going to continue to explore."
Yes, like I'm almost like I'm like the Richard Branson. I'm so well off that I'm just exploring and doing shit. Like maybe I married a very high and prominent woman from Chicago that now I wish
you had picked a different name instead of going back to the first name you thought of. Can you think of a new name for Christ's sake?
And now I'm a kelped man. That's what I'm.
That is where this topic came from, right there, wasn't it? That's the joke you wanted to say.
I just thought of that off the top of my head. Okay, so guys, moving along here. Given that some of us are senators. Some of us are hunting, Moby Dick and the Snorks, and other ones of us are just mildly exploring.
Some of us are making websites. Come on,
just swimming around. Hi, everybody. What? I haven't seen you before. I'm going to write you down in my underwater notepad.
Yeah, in my journal. Yeah, it's my. So, do you have a vehicle, or do you even require one? So, Christian, what do you? Well, let's hear it.
Jesus Christ! Did I not make my stance clear earlier on the fucking podcast?
Well, because I just talked and Downs talked before. There's a routine here now, a schedule.
All right, fucking, we don't want to break the wall for crying out loud. Fucking break the routine. Jesus Christ. Yes. Do I have a vehicle? I think the easiest way to describe my vehicle used for my purpose under the sea is essentially a pickup truck. With covered in prehistoric fish bones, with one of those harpoon racks in the back window, and big strobe lights on top of the roof, for crying out loud, and a kick-ass stereo.
So is it like like almost a pickup sub? Like if you would,
yes. It's the latest version of the frickin' GM frickin' Ford or whatever fucking, I'm not making sense, whatever. It's a pickup truck that goes underwater.
Well, that's, I mean, I guess if depending on how we're talking about here, unless you're writing a sea creature, everything's going to be a sub analog of some sort here.
I mean, depending on the actual sea creatures that are hunting, maybe I might want to bring the trailer attachment as well. You know what I mean? But I mean, I need the space in the back to throw in the friggin' fish corpses right after I've friggin' taken care of business. So
right. So you need to be able to haul the bodies,
my bounty, so to speak.
Yes, right.
And again, it's not bounty. I'm not doing this for free. I'm doing this for the good of the entire planet. And the prehistoric fish bones are purely for cosmetic and basically terror effect for my prey.
So do you by any chance do any sort of taxidermy or hang any of your the conquered foes, like a predator or something, in your clam mansion?
If you happen to be lucky enough to be invited to my clam mansion, and I've given you directions, you will find as you walk right into the kind of the foyer of my clam mansion that you will find that the walls are riddled with the various corpses of my prey mounted a traditional headboard, so to speak, all over. So you'll see snork heads and friggin' flipper heads and Aquaman heads all over my wall.
What was the name of that Hanna-Barbera shark?
Oh, Jabberjaw. Yeah. That would be my first one of my first conquests, and that would be like mounted. That would be transformed into a fountain in the middle of my foyer. Would basically spill water and decorative friggin' jewels everywhere,
and blood as well, and
the blood, whatever remaining blood is left in that corpse.
Yes, exactly. For me, I thought of two. One of them was I gotta have one of those almost like one of those paddleboard type submarines, where you almost just grab onto a board with both of your hands and you go with it. I've been watching, I think I've mentioned on this show before, I've been watching the Clone Wars, and I am having a fucking blast doing that. It is fucking great. And there's a string of episodes where they are down with the Mon Calamari. That's like Admiral Akbar's race, and Akbar is in it. And they use these like paddleboard fucking little personal submarine things that go. They're fucking. I have one of those. I have to use one of those. They're great. But in addition to that, I kind of thought like I had to have like a pimped out ride. Like I need to have like using air quotes, like a ship. Like almost, if you can imagine, like the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Right, so not the Nautilus from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, then.
No, like I mean, like the actual, like, well, actually, that would have been that, because isn't that the same?
Yeah, but it depends how much you hate that movie. You want to go with the actual original,
I'm going with the original. Like, so I have that. That's like my sleek drive. That I can take multiple people with me, but then I also have like the equivalent of that, the the little personal paddleboard submarine is like as if I'm going out on a bike.
Right. So your submarine is always in whisper mode. Is that it?
Yes, it's like
because I remember fucking was it like one of the things about freaking was it the Hunt for Red October or something like shit like that, and like the submarine had like some kind of silent mode or whisper mode for crying out loud. I was like,
yeah, but how much sound can there be under there?
Exactly.
I
was like, okay, they're going into silent mode. I was like, whatever the fuck, they're under goddamn water for crying.
How much sound can something make? All right, so Downs, do you have any?
Actually, fucking mechanics underwater make a ton of fucking.
Oh, just shut up, there, Black Lagoon.
Okay, so what Downs? Do you have any vehicle, or are you not in need of one?
No, for sure. Like everything else, when humans go to an environment, they take over and sublepant.
We gotta ride around on something.
We gotta ride around, and we're gonna fucking take anything that's in the ocean and make it our bitches. So, imagine that a shark is a sports car and a whale is a giant fucking family sedan, a station wagon. But we have made all of the fish of the ocean our bitches, right? Because now we're hanging underwater and we can breathe and shit. So we're not afraid of any of those things. Those ones that like turn the lights on and stuff? Those are like headlights of our cars and stuff. Like humans have taken over the ocean, right? And so sharks, whales, all that shit, they're just degrees of sports cars. So
you're driving around your 2,187 Kelp Miata. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm driving around in my fucking 2014 Great White, Gran Torino. You know what I mean? And it's all hooked up, and the whole chassis and the engine is a fucking shark underneath, right? And that's how you get around.
I got you. So like you're almost building around the body of, like the old idea that a horse-drawn carriage. These are almost, for lack of better words, like a shark.
Fish-drawn carriage, or again, like in Flintstones, again, like that idea of we make everything we have now, it's just fish and seafood stuff is what makes it happen.
Cool.
I think it's important to point out that I think that we have possibly made a podcasting milestone this evening in the number of mentions of the word kelp in a single podcast. I think we've done it. I think we are the best. We've done it the most times. Hooray for us!
We did I don't know. The Kelp Farmers podcast is pretty huge, actually, and I'm sure they mention kelp a lot.
Kelp Weekly, they might dispute that. I'm surprised no one, and maybe Downs was alluding to it, said that they were going to ride a seahorse, because that's the classic Aquaman from the old comics, from the Super Friends. Kind of cuts an interesting visual, but what do we think of the seahorse riding guy? Like,
well, I mean, for one, you'd have to have some sort of freak ass giant seahorse, right? So, like, in my world, we ride sea creatures, but in the reality of this planet that we are on right now, there is not 6-foot seahorses. You know what I mean? There are 6-foot sharks and bigger whales.
Yeah.
But seahorses tend to be in the centimeters, so it's not something that I envisioned happening anyways.
In my universe, I distinctly see 6-foot-tall seahorses as a burden on society and should be eviscerated and murdered so that no one could ever see them ever again.
So you're killing Aquaman's seahorse, right?
Every 6-foot seahorse I see, I tell you right now, I'm taking out my undersea axes and I'm going to town.
Undersea axes?
They're like rabid dogs. You got to put them down, right?
Exactly.
That's right. I can't have that shit happening in my freaking world.
Okay, so do we have any underwater companions? Downs.
Oh, I thought I was expecting you to go to me, but never mind.
I know.
Oh, in this one, so aside from my family, who I figure would just fish people too, I didn't think of any weird companions, actually.
Okay.
No.
Christian.
What?
No.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let me tell you, what other companion could any undersea I don't like to use the word bounty hunter. It's just basically a sea purification expert.
Excellent title, by the way.
Then would be a robot octopus, where they could use half their arms for the holding of specific items I may need, and the other 4 items to shoot laser beams from their tentacles at my various prey.
Oh my God, Christian! I also have. I just immediately thought of Aquabot, like that. I had to have a almost like a aquatic version of R2-D2 or something. Without the legs, he kind of like almost has a fan at the bottom that that kind of propels him forward like a jet. But I have to have one of those. And then I thought maybe,
Sorry.
No worries. And then I thought maybe I would have a pet crab. Like I could have that as well.
Now with a pet crab,
And he sings, right?
No, there's no singing.
He's Jamaican. Oh no.
No, there's no singing in my.
He's not Jamaican. He's French, isn't he? Yeah, he's a
we still can't figure that out after all these years.
So is your pet crab the equivalent of, say, the above the ocean version of a pirate with a parrot? Like your crab sits there and freaking repeats things you say and gives you suggestions about where to go and things like that?
No, I think of it like more as like almost like a dog, right? It walks.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like it stays at the ground. I'm walking on the sea level, and it's kind of scurrying along with me.
Oh. So you're not describing some underwater venereal disease that you don't want to speak to your wife from friggin'
No.
Sure.
No, that's something else entirely. This is just like a thing with clamps and a little crab thing that. Yeah. So. Guys, before we wrap up here, the most pertinent question that any time we talk about people living under the ocean, do we invade the surface world? That seems to always happen with, if you are Namor, if you are Aquaman, anybody, Atlantis, whatever, this always seems to be a priority. So I have to ask all of us here, are you attacking? Do you have hatred for the surface world? Let's start with you, Christian.
I think I've made it emphatically clear many times throughout this entire podcast that my work is purely for the salvation of the surface world. Whether they know I'm doing this or not, I am doing it purely for the future generations of air breathers and not these anomalous friggin' water breathers.
Downs, what about you?
So again, this is where I think my decision factor has a lot to do with it. If we're going with scenario B, which is where we're fleeing a catastrophic land-based event, then I don't think we are, right? We're hiding out. Maybe in 100 years we come back up, and is there some sort of thing, perhaps? But I originally
there's a barbecue or something like that. You're like, hey, we'll come up.
Well,
there.
no, and you know, like this TV show, The 100 is kind of illustrated as, no matter what happens, they're probably going to be a couple of humans who survive, and they're going to evolve probably eventually as well. So even if the majority of the rich people go to the water in my scenario, or they go to space in someone else's scenario, there's going to be a lot of poor people who are left. And some of those people might evolve into something else or might stay the same, right? But in the scenario where I was fleeing the land, I was like, in the short term, the answer is no. We're not coming back up to the surface. Now, alternatively, in the world where we have lived underwater for generations, I think that's probably a very different situation, because there's probably people on Earth as well, and we're probably at war with them. You know what I mean? Like, if we've been living there, I didn't mention if I'm just like an advertising guy under the ocean, I probably just have like an underwater townhouse. Like, it's very much like life is like it would be today, and so you have to assume, like it is here, we probably are at war with the opposite of what we are, which is the day breather, air walkers, whatever. So I would think, yes, we're probably at war with the planet, Earth air breathers. But I thought what would be neat would be, how like when you're in the water right now, a lot of like when you're like in the pool for a long time, your fingers get all like pruny. I was like, it'd be neat if there was like the opposite effect from like people who are watery who go up to the planet, and maybe like the usually people dry.
Maybe pruny is how your hands should look, right? Like,
or like yeah, like so like when you get there, because like everyone says the thing is just like Aquaman is going to dry out. I don't think you dry out. I think there's lots of moisture in the air, but like maybe what happens is your body gets fatter. Like instead of being pruny and underwatery and viney and like where your veins are, it gets kind of stubby like our fingers are, and it's like, oh my God, I can't figure things out. So that's, I don't know. I was sticking up science fiction-y stupid bullshit.
I'm more concerned about the ear thing. That's always when I get out of a pool, it's just fucking getting that water out of my goddamn ear, because then I can't hear for days. I hate that.
For me, I don't like that trope of that you always have to attack the surface world. To your point, the ocean is so huge that if there was going to be conflict, wouldn't they have problems with people, other dwellers under the ocean? There's enough to worry about there. It's like, in my scenario, it's not a priority. That is not something that we live and die by, and we're worrying every day and night and plotting to attack the surface world. In fact, we vacation up there occasionally. But like, if there is conflict, it might be with a city also under the ocean, because that, if you think about, if we had civilized the ocean, think about the actual mass of that. Like how many? The land is actually a small percentage of that.
Yeah, it's huge. Like underwater, a mansion is not fucking hard to get, right? Like a huge lot is quite affordable.
Yeah,
and I'm just thinking that. I go, Dallas is going like, I'm underwater and I'm living in my townhouse. I'm like, townhouse? Can you get yourself a big,
right? You're right. Actually, I have a huge
sea crater that you can build your kelp farm for crying out loud. And
he's clearly not been successful under there. That's for sure.
Just like this world, as a matter of fact.
As a matter of fact. So there you go. There you go. There's the Atomic Geeks under the sea. That's how that all shook out. So that was pretty fun. Before we wrap up here, let's move into our Atomic Picks. Christian Nielsen.
Well, thank you for starting with me again. For crying out. Atomic pick this week. I don't have anything really new to say, but there's one thing I can reaffirm, because I talked about it, I think, on the previous Atomic pick, is that the final episode of the series Silicon Valley, directed and written by Mike Judge, is over. And let me just reaffirm that if you haven't seen this show, you should fucking watch it. And particularly this latest episode, episode 8, they have a conversation that just struck me as just fantastic and reminded me of this podcast so much it's not even funny. So at the very least, if you don't watch the entire series, and you're stupid if you don't, at least watch this final episode for a conversation I think is very, very similar to this very podcast. Just edit it right there, for Christ's sakes.
All right. Let me jump in with my Atomic pick. And mine is for a comic book, and it's one that I've been reading for a very long time, and I think I probably haven't. I've done this as Atomic pick before, way back in the archive, but not in a long time. And that is the Image Comics Invincible. That is by Robert Kirkman. That's Mr. Walking Dead. I think most people know him for that now, and have probably forgotten that he also writes a pretty damn good superhero comic called Invincible. Well, let me tell you, if you've not been reading this sucker in a long time, you've been missing out. The comic has hit the fucking gas. It is so goddamn good. They've done a new storyline that has switched the entire mythology and direction of the comic. Super violent, super surprising. It is just really, really good stuff. All you could want out of a superhero comic. Kirkman's written every issue of this series. Ryan Ottley, who's just a great artist, has drawn the last 100+ issues of this. Check out Invincible. It's the most recent episode at the time of this recording is issue 111. It's available on Comixology and at comic stores. Invincible, check it out. And
the very fact that those fucking writer and artist team have stayed together for that fucking long is a testament of excellence in fucking comic books, I have to say.
Oh yeah, and that's what I love. Long uninterrupted runs, Image is particularly good at that. So I commend Kirkman, who's also done that with his Walking Dead collaborators, and with Invincible, just great stuff. So finally, Mike Downs.
Okay, two quick things. First up, Game of Thrones.
Whoa!
Oh my God! That's all I'm going to say is, oh my God.
Best season of the show ever this year, I think.
Yeah, although I guess, spoiler alert, I'm not going to say anything specific, but Christian, in case you haven't seen the most recent episode.
I'm up to date on this son of a bitch. I'm fucking tired of being spoiled. I'm with everyone in the whole world.
Okay, good. You can't watch this show and not be up to date. That is too important. But I got to say, I'm kind of getting tired of liking characters because they all die. I really hope Tyrion doesn't die. That's all I gotta say on Game of Thrones. Anything else you guys want to say, or
no?
That episode was the most it was quite disappointing, but quite it made me feel good because it kept the heart of the show. You know what I mean? The unexpected was there. I appreciate the unexpected, although my traditional story time values get defeated all the time. So I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever.
I'm just getting annoyed that everyone that you are invested in is getting killed off and stuff, and I think that that works for a certain amount of time, but I'm hoping the audience, like I am, doesn't get pissed off and annoyed and leave the show because of it. I think that, you know what I mean? It works for a certain amount of time, but
I think you know what though, I appreciate it for what it is, and it keeps me on the edge, not knowing what to expect. And there's nothing out there right now in television that keeps me in that area. If I want to look for traditional storylines where traditional things happens, there's plenty of all that fucking shit out there for crying out loud.
Fair enough, but you can't kill off every main fucking character that the audience relates to.
But they haven't done that yet, though.
But they're almost. Anytime you love a character on this show, they kill that character.
Listen, you love Sons of Anarchy. You love Sons of Anarchy. Stuff happens in that show that keeps you happy. At least here's a show that has genuinely good fucking characters, interesting characters, but you don't know if they're going to exist from one day to the next. And I think that's very exciting, and that's good fucking TV.
I'm worried that it's very close to Lost, and I'm like, it's not like Lost, but I'm worried that they could. I hear people going after the Red Wedding, after this now, and if Tyrion dies, they're getting tired of investing time in characters and having those characters die off. I'm not saying I don't love the show. I love the show, but I'm on the fucking edge of going, you know what? I'm done with it. Everyone I like and I invest in, they kill off, and I think that's a fair statement. And to say that, and you're kind of saying it's not. And I don't.
No, I'm really surprised that for a person who is kind of thrives on traditions being broken, so to speak, that here's something as far as storylines go that is actually doing that, kind of keeping us on the edge of our seat, and you're not on.
I'm not saying I don't. I'm not
saying you don't like it, but I'm saying you can appreciate it for what it's doing.
I do, but I think that, you know what, you could still do that and not kill off every character. You bring in the Viper, and here's a character that people like from the minute you introduce them. Here's an interesting character. Here's an interesting character, and guess what? Now he's dead. It feels like Vince McMahon bringing in talent from the outside of the fucking Federation.
Dude, I'm on the same page as you.
That's what it feels like.
I'm on the same page as you. I love fucking Tyrion. I don't want to see him die, but you know what, though? I'm curious to see how he lives or how he doesn't live, and I'll be sad when it happens. If it does happen.
If he dies.
I have no idea. I haven't read the books, people on the internet, for Christ's sake. I'm just based on purely
there
TV
are pictures
speculation.
on Instagram. I look at you look at the Game of Thrones hashtag on Instagram. Every other or every 5 pictures is, if Tyrion dies, we riot. And I'm like,
he's not going to die.
I hope not,
but I don't want to hear any spoilers. Even if he dies or not, I don't want to hear it.
I don't know any. I have no insight into that. I'm just saying they've not killed Jon Snow. They've not killed the Arya. They've not killed like a lot of major characters.
Yeah. There is no other show on television that has substantially good fucking characters that could be on the bubble at any time whatsoever without
awesome.
question.
Like,
you know what I mean? And there's no other show that does that. This is the show. So fucking good. Let's kind of appreciate it for what it is and try and just go along for the ride. That's all I got to say.
And I'm trying. I'm just saying.
It's disheartening.
I know you like Tyrion. I like Tyrion too. But like, if he fucking gets smurtled by a fucking dragon or something, well, it happens. You know what I mean? That's fucking life.
There is a and it's happening in another part of my life where people are like, dark endings are good. Don't give the audience what they want. And I disagree with that. I think sometimes you need to send the audience home happy. And I think that that's fine. But it feels that there is a shift away from that. That in fact...
Well, but there was a recent event in that show that made people happy. That people were waiting for some character to not survive and did not. And that made people happy. You know,
fair enough. That's a
what?
totally fair point.
Downs,
totally
you bring up a very good point that could actually be an entire conversation in this, is that The Walking Dead, more loosely, based on the source of a graphic novel. This is based on a series of novels that none of us have read. So maybe this is like, hey, this is scripture. This is the way it was written. They got to do it. But my one thing is, and I love that the unpredictability of both of those shows. I mean, Game of Thrones more. But is this going to create a trend in TV now that the way to make TV compelling is to constantly subvert all of the norms? And that's right. My only thing is that, are we going to ever go, listen, the good guy has to sometimes win? Like
literally, is every show going to now, the minute you like someone, going to kill them? And you're like, okay.
Yes. Lesser shows will do that. Lesser shows will do that.
If that is going to evolve storytelling to a point where it keeps people watching a show guessing and not being able to predict what happens, I'm sorry, I don't think that's such a bad thing.
But you know what, though? I think that's short-sighted, Christian, because what the outcome of that is that we aren't then going to trust any characters, and we won't fully invest ourselves in the story. So then we're going to go, you know what? I don't care.
Well, it depends on the medium.
You have to keep people invested in the story. And I think if you keep, and literally, we talked about my wife's book, okay? And so I don't want to spoil anything, but like the publisher is like, you got to end it on a dark note, and I'm like, no, you got to send people home happy. And this is a very difference of opinion that I have a problem with. And I'm like, I feel that you should always send your audience home happy. Maybe I'm old school that way, and I'm out of touch with the way entertainment is going now, is that it needs to be more like, no, don't send them home happy, hook them in for the next thing, it feels like that's the way we're going now, is all I'm trying to say.
No, that's fair. All right.
Quickly, back to my
that wasn't your atomic pick. There's more, for crying out loud.
Well, I was just a comment on that. But
that was his first one.
Oh,
I mentioned this book I read. I got to look it back on this tab now. Douglas Dixon, I think his name was. Man After Man is this book. So I'm hoping that some nerds out there who listen to this podcast have read this book. It's very neat. It talks about how the human race actually took the best of us and sent us off in a spaceship, and that no one in the first few hundred years even knew that happened. And they come back 1,000 years later, and they're all Aryan and like interbred, and there's like, you know, these water people and like land people. It's weird. I remember, I don't know if there's any book that's freaked me the fuck out as much as this book did, but this book freaked me out. When I read it, I didn't know that it was fiction. I was like, is this some guy actually predicting what's the future of us, of humankind? I'm so worried because, like, I'm going to be alive in 200 years.
And I'm a very bad swimmer.
Yes. No, and I can swim for fucking my ass off, but I'm like, I'm going to be 300 years old. They're not going to make me a fucking water person. I'm going to be dead on the planet when the nuclear bombs go off. Anyways, it's just this freaky deaky book. If you see it in some, it has like this. The cover of it is like this weird four-legged boned animal being ridden by this little beetle person. Because again, it goes into like literally 10,000 years from now and what humans will be then, or what at least the human consciousness will be. We're so far from what we would be now. It's crazy. But anyways, totally geeky, funky, science fiction-y, something you should maybe check out if you have some time.
All right, there you go. So that's going to do it for episode 258. But fear not, we will be back next week, and I believe Mr. Downs will be hosting. What's in store?
I will be hosting, and we've mentioned it a few weeks now. I'm getting really big into the action figures again lately, so next week we're making some Atomic Geeks action figures.
Holy fuck. This feels like something we should have done a long time ago. So you can find us in all the social media places. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. You can visit our website, theatomicgeeks.com. We're on Tumblr. We're on Instagram. Anywhere on the internet, we are there. Wherever you listen to podcasts, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, wherever, leave us a review. We'd love that. So there you go. This is another end of another show, but we've had some fun and we'll be back. But for now, this is Michael DiGiovanni for Mike Downs and Christian Nielsen saying, The Atomic Geeks, out. There you go.
Okay, I gotta give you guys the rules for this because it's pretty specific. So for next week, so
Wait, you talking about action figures? Why don't you just email them to us for crying out loud?
I will, but I'm gonna explain it to me now because we're on the phone. Is that okay?
Nope, that's not. I gotta really fucking pee. But anyway, go on.
Well, go piss and then come back. I'll tell you when you come back.
Okay, let me pee.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to pee too.
Hey, internet, stay tuned for more stuff for next week.
Dude, I'm gonna eat some Doritos.
I can't hear a word you're saying.
My glasses back on maybe now.
What's that?
Put my glasses back on. The headphones hurt with my glasses on.
Okay, so what? Christian just go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
So how many people? You know who was also watching? Was I think Brent was.
Oh yeah, Brent once in a while, yeah.
He goes, he wrote, I'm totally ham sandwiched while watching the Atomic Geeks podcast in my underpants tonight. Horse whipped.
Fucking Brent Thompson.
That is great.
There's a finger for you, Brent Thompson.
Oh man.
Sweet release of
podcasting urine. There's nothing like it, I'll tell you that right now. What's that?
Brent Thompson wrote, I'm totally ham sandwiched while watching the Atomic Geeks podcast in my underpants. And then he put hashtag horsewhipped.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yep.
So, the rule is, so I'm doing a Dejo action figure. Dejo, you do Christian. Christian, you
good
do
idea.
me. And then, so, what you got to do, though, is you got to take an existing action figure and customize it to be us, okay?
No, but can't you create your own, like, battle version of you?
Yeah, I don't see why we have to take an existing action figure. Why can't you
what you're going to do is you're going to say, I'm going to base it off this figure, and then here's what we're going to do to customize it to be Dejo.
No, it should just be, you should just, like, we shouldn't base off a figure. It should just be, like,
you can reference a figure to give it more clarity, but not like say this is off this figure.
It has to be a Star Wars figure. I think it should just be Christian is go balls out. He's got a space. It's a Christian in space gear action figure. Blah 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 blah. Like
fine. So
who am I making?
I'm doing you. You're doing Christian. Christian's doing me. and then you can make up a play set that you want, right? So you can say,
okay.
So you could say, I'm going to do the Boxwood Blue Ring play set, or I'm going to
so it has to be like Atomic Geeks somewhat reference
asteroid, the tag asteroid.
Oh, yes.
Well, whatever. You have to make a fucking playset that's synonymous with the character or person that you're fucking making a character.
Ideally, yeah.
Or for all the characters, right? Like.
Oh,
because we're gonna do one character each. We're gonna do a play set. What was the other thing I was gonna do?
Yeah, but like example, like say for example, I've got different ideas for an action figure in my head already. Like if Dejo does a Star Wars like figure and I do like an Evel Knievel figure, those are two different sizes. They're not compatible with the play set.
But your play set is for your figures or whatever.
Okay. That's my point. That was my point. Yes. Okay.
No, like you're doing a figure and then you're going to do a play set, ideally that goes, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's just a different play set.
No, so our play sets and figures are personally matching. Yeah, yes, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to all jive into everybody else's. No.
So I'm making a Christian figure I can reference in context in terms of like the size of it is like G.I. Joe, or it's Masters of the Universe, or it's a Todd McFarlane.
So the things you have to tell us when you make your figure and your playset are size, not necessarily manufacturer, but like the style, right? Like
style, like where are the articulations and
exactly. What kind of figure is it? Accessories.
Oh, I can. This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just again, those bullet points are important to freaking stretch.
Yeah. So I'll email that around, and then I guess the other thing was then. So if we're doing one of each, that's fine. Oh, what I thought was, either companions or like other Atomic Geeks Network figures that you want to create yourself. So so for Downs, you could do Big Business Downs, right? So like
I don't need any suggestions how to do your fucking characters. You give me fucking I'll fucking do whatever the fuck I want.
I'm just saying you could.
I don't need no fucking ideas. I come up with ideas on my own.
Personas. So Dejo could choose, even though he's not doing me, to do a different persona, or he could say I'm doing a Paxton Hawley figure, or I'm doing a Carlin Trammell figure.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. All right.
So so basically, it's like the main thrust of the podcast topic is essentially action figures being assigned, play set, and then tertiary fucking action figure bullshit from other people and whatever as the ending friggin'.
Or it should almost be like mail-in, like you send in 4 proofs of purchase.
Just the extra
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
The extra stuff that doesn't jive in with the main topic we've been talking.
Yeah, the tertiary sort of characters, like mail in and get a special blah 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 character. Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
All right,
dudes, that'll be great.
So I'll email all the details closer to the thing.
So did we come to a consensus on when we're doing this tag crossover thing?
I don't think the date would ever.
Honestly,
sounds Christian, does it?
Honestly, at this point, I mean, freaking count me out. I mean, because that.
What about? I thought it worked for everybody but Bloom that one night.
I thought Bloom was hosting.
Well, then we could get someone else. I mean, I could host it. I mean, if everybody else is in, like.
Okay, I mean, the Friday, I'm on vacation that week. I don't want to do the podcast that week, so I'm telling you that now.
What week?
What is that? The week? Well, what's the Friday? It was like the 27th or something like that.
Oh, you don't want to do the 28th,
That way, like honestly, I have every single night off that week, which I don't normally have. So if I'm dedicating one night to podcasting, to a certain degree, that's the only night I'm going to dedicate to podcasting that week, and that seems more important to do, so to speak.
But we could take off our regular week, and we could put up as a supplemental that week.
That's fine. Whatever you want to do, but yeah, I'm only going to do one podcast a week, specifically because I'm on vacation.
No, that makes sense. So, I mean, no offense to Bloom, but if he's saying can't do it that week, and AJ and everybody is saying they can.
Yeah, if everybody's saying they can, that's perfectly fine. Again, I don't want to hurt Bloom's feelings, for crying out loud, you know? I mean, anyway. Yes.
Okay. Well, maybe
if 90% of people can make one date and one person can't.
I hear you.
We maybe have to kind of compromise a little bit. So
okay.
So I'll write those guys.
Not everyone's going to make every date, so it's
which
has the most amount of people. That's just
right.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, fellas. So yeah, next week same bat time, same bat channel.
Looking forward to it.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right, see you later.